So Jacoby Brissett is the starter. Were you there for the 75-second press conference, Mike?
I was.
Yeah, did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it?
So I'm different on this, Beetle. Like, I actually appreciated it, and I'll tell you why, and I know this is going to come across as probably different than what most people say. Like, that wasn't even supposed to be on the schedule, and Jerod Mayo put it on. I viewed it as him respecting us, meaning as a collective media. Hey, I told you that I was going to address it with you, so that's why he came back to do it on that day. So he wasn't even supposed to do it. So I appreciate it, Beto, because if he didn't, like, I know we only got 2 questions, and I think in retrospect, if he could have taken a few more, but to me it was like a show of respect. Hey, I told you I'd be back, so I'm coming back.
I think he respected his team more because, the guys, he had to tell them first before he told you guys.
And also,
that's part of it.
And also, so we didn't go into the locker room and start asking the players about it before maybe Jerod himself address it. Now, and Beto, just like this gets inside media stuff, but for us at ESPN, like, that was a great thing that Jerod Mayo did, because on TV we could show Jerod Mayo explain, his explanation for the decision. We got Jacoby Brissett in the locker room, Drake May in the locker room. So on TV that day at ESPN, we had everything we needed.
What did you make of Brissett? Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. What did you make of Brissett saying that it's you guys that wanted this press conference, meaning the media? And I'm like, your head coach talked about this with the other guy playing better and sat here the day before and saying, I'm going to make a decision, but I'm going to talk to the team.
Yeah.
And that was odd to me. Because the media, we were not asking for a press conference the next day.
I think that whole situation, and you're the best to talk about it.
And I think he's becoming territorial now with the position, which is interesting.
You've lived that life as being in the locker room. I think it's just hard. Like, the locker room doors open up, and like I'm be honest, I was running to his locker to get short. I don't want to be like in the third row.
Short. I thought you meant you don't talk much.
I ran toward him, and like we all sort of like got up, and like he put a little chair in front of us to like create a little barrier.
Where's your pad level at, Mike? Get up in there. Yeah.
So Garcia parted it, right? Puts the tape down.
But I just sort of described the way it unfolded, because I try to put myself and look, you're a professional athlete. This is part of what you have to deal with. It just felt a little aggressive to me, just the way we came in there that day. And I think, Beetle, knowing you're probably going to be like, come on. Like, this guy's a professional athlete. He's getting paid $8 million. Like, deal with it. Like, that would be my guess at what you're thinking.
No, I'm not. I'm not at all. You guys are running at him in the locker room. I'd be like, what is this?
If the players are problem with it, the team
Here's the thing. Has Jacoby Brissett ever not been available? He's a pretty available guy, isn't he?
Yeah,
but this was one where he was specifically like, you
knew that he was going to talk because it was a story.
I don't want to say he had to do it, but like, yes, exactly. Like, so I think that the reason I just share that was the dynamic of, and then the questions. And I will say, we waited. We didn't start asking right away, so we were patient. Yeah. But it felt a little less human to me, like, and maybe so that might have led to the tone of his response in that moment.
Well, we've talked a lot about how the situation was handled over the course of the summer at quarterback, and I don't think they've put Jacoby Brissett in a great spot. The way they've said things, Jerod Mayo has said, Drake May played better and kind of gone back and forth, and I don't know. I feel like their endorsement of him as the starter is kind of half-hearted.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they are, at least the public-facing side of this, doesn't feel like they're strong supporters of Jacoby Brissett, other than we named him the starter.
Here's the way I look at it, Beetle. When the Eagles came here for the joint practice, I remember coming on with you guys, and I think I did 95% it's Brissett, 5% it's May, because at that point, I didn't even think it was very close. So I think May played well in the preseason game against the Eagles, and he sort of took off. And I've been using this analogy of like a horse race. Like, they were coming down the home stretch, and Brissett's almost like at the wire, and like May's all the way back here. But like all of a sudden, he's like starting to move, and he's making up this ground, closing ground. And I think that's what I truly believe. That's what they believe happened.
I think that Jacoby Brissett may have been taking out some of his frustration with the situation on the media a little bit. And I think it's because he doesn't have strong backing. as a starting quarterback of this team. Not to say he really deserves it, but I think he deserves the bare minimum of his coach not going out there and telling everyone, I think the rookie performed better in the preseason.
I wonder if Brissett had a problem with that comment.
He had to have.
That's fair.
It should bug you.
It should.
To me, he wouldn't be human if it didn't, but I think the way I view it is he has the strong backing of the offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt, who he was with in Cleveland and who has not wavered. I think we can agree with that.
Has not.
T.C. McCartney, the quarterback's coach, he's really developing a trust with Jerod Mayo. They did not have a history together prior to this year. When Jacoby was here in 2016, Jerod had retired at that point and was not working in football. And so I think that's what I would focus on. And when Jerod Mayo says that Drake May played better, I think he's actually telling us the truth. Like, he viewed May's performance from the Eagles preseason game, not the whole preseason. We know that's not what he was talking about. But from the Eagles preseason game to the end of the preseason, that he thought May played better. Like, I actually think he was being honest with us. And if I could say, I think that to me is, in one way, it's like refreshing, but in another, it's almost a reminder of this is a first-time head coach. Maybe to a fault, sharing a little too much.
Like, hey, Jerod, you know what you can bank on? Jacoby Brissett barely played in those games. Yes, he had a bad pick, but you can just say, hey, in totality, with everything, from all of our practices and everything we did this offseason, we know Jacoby's the best guy to be the starter on this team. That's it. That's all you got to do. Give him the full endorsement. Go into the season. If he stinks, we'll all see it. And you could say, didn't work out. Now we've got to pivot.
Yeah.
It's that simple. I mean, to screw this whole thing up with the phony competition that wasn't a competition, with all the reps going to Brissett, to then playing May a lot in the games. I mean, he didn't handle this well when he hit the podium.
To me, it was just that one. The only thing that complicated it for me was the one comment.
Yeah.
It got complicated when you start by saying Jacoby's QB1 to saying we don't have a starter in the middle. Why did you do that? What's the point of that?
When he said we don't have a starter, is that basically you interpreting what he said, that this is a true competition?
No. There was a day where he said we don't have a starter right now.
I don't. Let's see if we can pull that up.
Yeah, I think it was more in the terms of, hey, we don't have a game this week, so we don't have a starter right now.
Okay,
but we're gonna get one.
We'll get the context of it. Right. But so I think Jerod Mayo has said, like, I'm gonna make mistakes, as a first-time head coach. Hopefully, I learn from him. I think that would be the one thing I would say. I would also say, like, some of this to me, like, the job of a reporter is to add the context. Like, I think some people think Jerod Mayo was saying that Drake May played better than Jacoby Brissett throughout the preseason. Like, no, that's not what he said.
It was that 10-day push.
And while it was a little unclear, it's sort of our job as reporters to make it clear, to follow up on it. And that's one, I don't want to say regret that I have, but, like, that's sort of our job. And I think there was a misunderstanding of, like, wait a minute. He said May played better than Brissett, but then he picked Brissett. This doesn't make sense. But when you really drill down on it, he was saying from that time frame of the Eagles preseason game to the end of camp, that was when Drake really made a charge. And I truly believe he feels that way.
Yeah, I think a lot of that timing sort of had that Mac Jones feel to it, where Mac really put the foot on the accelerator. It had the Giants in for joints. Cam was out with the COVID thing, and you could just see that, that 1 week, he exploded. And he felt like May exploded there for a little bit. And, with Jerod sort of leaving that door open as to picking a starter, like, okay, wow, he's got a shot. I think people in the back of my mind wanted and wished that he would have a shot to play.
July 23rd was the start of camp, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt Jacoby is the starting quarterback.
Okay.
By the 19th of August, he said, we don't have a starting quarterback right now. On the 22nd, 3 days later, he said, Jacoby, right now, he's our starting quarterback.
Can you give me the
I'm going to go back and get the full
answer on
I got to see if I have the full transcript.
Yeah.
If I deleted that or not. I got to look at my email.
Yeah, because I think that stuff.
I know you have it there. I know you've got them saved.
I'll look at.
It's the 19th. You got to look up.
Because I do think that the one thing I will say. So I want to just I love coming on here. Like, this has been a whole new experience covering Jerod Mayo as head coach. Really, the opposite end of the spectrum of Bill Belichick. And I think what I'm learning is, like, when Jerod says something, whatever you put out on X or Twitter, whatever we call it now, like, make sure you're listening to the whole picture here.
Yep.
Whereas with Bill Belichick, it was so different in the sense of when he said something, it was so an outlier that you could just put it right out there.
I have the one from the 16th. I don't think I have.
I'll look for
Take
it.
a look.
Because to me, that was the one thing I would say on Jerod, Mayo, and if you want to say criticize him for that, because I think he wasn't clear enough to say, look, these last 10 days, this is a true competition. Drake has really put his foot on the gas here. And I think he really believes that.
How many people do you think were actually involved in the decision-making to name the starting quarterback?
So definitely Alex Van Pelt.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think T.C. McCartney, the quarterback's coach to a degree. Ben McAdoo, the senior assistant. Absolutely. And I think Elliot Wolf is going to be part of that too. So I think ultimately, my view of it is that Jerod Mayo is going to take what they say and most likely go with it because I think he's on the record as saying, I look at quarterbacks, unless it's a Phillip Rivers type release, I'm going to defer to the experts.
Yeah.
So I think he's mostly going to defer to them, even unless he feels that conviction, Tim, where he really feels strongly about it, that he would go against him. But to me, if he went against him, and I truly believe that group I said believes Jacoby's the right choice, let's just say, hypothetically, Jerod went against him, that to me would signal bigger problems, within the organization. And I think a trust there would be broken in numerous places that could ultimately filter into the locker room, which from their perspective, I think would have been a greater concern.
Okay, so we know how he had this misstep. And this, I said earlier in the show, Mike, before you were on, at the end of the day, is it really going to hold back the development of Drake May? It's going to screw up this team the way that he said this thing and kind of stepped in a little bit? No, right? At the end of the day, it's not going to make a major difference. Jacoby Brissett's not going to go out and stink on Sunday because his head coach said that Drake May outperformed him in the preseason. It's going to have very little impact on the actual game that's played Sunday or games after that point. What if Jerod Mayo isn't a good coach? What happens to this team if it turns out first-time head coach doesn't work out, not good in-game, can't handle those little things? This is something we're going to find out, this is one of the things I think is interesting about this team. If it's not about winning, it's about what do they look like otherwise? Can they compete?
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.